Good morning, Leadworks engineers. Today we are talking about the development of Leadworks Game Engine. It's currently in early access. It's available on our website, leadworks.com, and on Steam. Full release is scheduled for release soon, and that'll be so. Essentially, what we have right now is a beta that's very nearly complete. Um, and we'll be moving to the final 5.0 version soon. This is a nice screenshot Andy90 posted last week, and I thought it looked good. And Let's get to it. Okay, so last week I fixed 15 bugs that were in the. I fixed 15 bugs that were reported, and I fixed a few others that I just found along the way while I was using the software. There's only 14 bug reports left in the system. Um, there's a total of 839, and I solved 825 of them. So that means we have 98% of our reported bugs have been solved. No other game engine has that. 98% solved. Um, so that's quite good. I made a lot of. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you all for your help. I could not have done that without you, without your excellent reporting. So it's yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure like everybody else appreciates your effort too because it benefits them. So I made a lot of enhancements to the IDE. I think the IDE, the integrated development environment, in other words, the built-in code editor, I think that's very important, and so I want that to be top notch. Uh, there's now full syntax highlighting for Lua, so functions, methods, keywords, it all gets highlighted in Lua. Keywords are downloaded automatically from the online documentation, and this is great because it's really easy for me to see if there a documentation page is missing because the keyword won't be highlighted in code that I'm looking at. Um, so at this point, if you find a missing page in the documentation, I would like to know about it. Like we're in the past it's been kind of like um, I had a lot of other things to do, but now we're at the stage where like if there's a page missing in the documentation, please file a bug report. I want to know. Um, uh, you might not have noticed, but when you go up to help and then select the Leadworks documentation menu item, or if you just press the F1 key, it will now navigate. If you have the the cursor, the caret, it's called. Um, if you have it in a word, it will search the documentation for that word, and if it finds one result, then it will go to that page. If it finds multiple results, then it will go to a search page searching for that term. If it doesn't find anything, then it'll just go to the default Lua programming page. Um, so I think that'll help you quite a lot. It's pretty cool how that works. I added a little find and replace window. I added a window to go to a specific line. These are just essential things that you need in an IDE. One change happened to with entity emit sound. Um, so the ability to toggle spatialization on and off was something new in the latest beta. Like since the 098 beta was released in December. Um, and I might actually right now we have a set spatialization command in OpenAL. A mono sound source is considered 3D spatialized, and a stereo sound source is always not spatialized. But you can override that explicitly with the set spatialization command. I might actually get rid of that command and just say if the range of the speaker is 0, then it doesn't use spatialization. If the range of the speaker is greater than 0, then it does use spatialization, and just completely ignore the mono stereo thing because I always thought that was kind of unintuitive, I think, for a lot of people, including myself.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah, so right now, if you call entity emit sound, if the range is 0, it will disable spatialization. Otherwise, spatialization will be enabled. 3D spatialization. And I had to update the first person shooter example map for this because I had to set some of the ranges to 0 for some of the sounds. It uses a lot of sounds. And I also did some work on the navigation mesh pathfinding. I made some big improvements to it for our own SCP game. But I also, in that process, I also broke I kind of broke the behavior of the enemies in the FPS map, and so I just went in for a couple of hours and looked at it and found the cause of that and fixed it. So that will all work now. The map has been updated on Steam. The standalone version has not had an update yet. I think I'm actually going to move that into. I'm going to move that thing into the download system, but I haven't done it yet because I have one other thing that I want to do. Okay. Also, a set of the week. We have this survival props set was released a couple days ago. This includes more than 40 items, PBR materials, everything you need to make a survival game. Everything except hands. Could use some hands, but yeah, a lot of stuff that you can do. Use this for crafting, for chopping down trees, or what have you. Lots of interesting stuff. This is available right now in the Downloads Manager for free. The license is Creative Commons Attribution, so as long as you just have a text file that says these models were made by the author, which is that information is included, then you are able to use these for free. So have fun. Yeah, whenever I see like a set of items like this, I jump on that as quickly as I can because when you have like individual things by themselves, it's really hard to put a set of them together. But if you have a set of things like this where you have like consistent quality and style, then that's really fantastic. So if you're interested in making that kind of game, grab these. And if you're not, well, maybe now that you have that content, maybe making a survival game will be a good idea to you. Who knows? Okay, so we need to adjust course a little bit. Because with Ultra Engine, I said, okay, Ultra Engine is going to be the fastest game engine for VR. I pictured aerospace and defense being a big customer for that. And what I've actually found is the most influential people in the world that determines what businesses use, that determines what everybody else uses, is 12-year-olds watching YouTube videos. Well, no, I mean it's just the fact of the matter. Like they determine what everyone uses. They have how do you explain it? They form public opinion. Public
They are
opinion.
technically the most populous population too. There's the most of them,
Yeah.
or 12-year-olds than any other group.
Um, what some uh, what some AAA developer uses, or what some simulation developer working for Raytheon or something, what they use, it doesn't influence the world really because they just keep it secret and they don't really talk about it. They don't talk about it with other people. It's the 12-year-olds talking among themselves that influence everything. So yeah, I mean, so I guess I have to make a choice. Do I want Leadworks to be more like CryEngine, or do I want Leadworks to be more like Roblox? Well,
Why
Roblox is
not
still
both?
in business.
Well, it sounds like here that you're going back to where you were 10 years ago. But now you have an engine that's scalable. So once you so with Lightworks, once you got to a point where it's like, yeah, I want to add all these models, I want to do all this crazy stuff, the engine just slogged down and no longer became useful. But now, since you started with performance first, people can get started making simple marble games and such, and then when they want to scale up, the engine can easily support that. But in Lightworks 4, it was more difficult.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think the idea is, the user experience. When I say Roblox and CryEngine, I'm not talking about the features or graphics. I'm talking about the user experience, the developer experience. Um, what if there was something that took you by the hand as a beginner and led you through all the steps of and showed you step by step how to create things, and it didn't let you down once you became adept at it. It didn't let you down in the end. Like, Roblox, you're gonna, obviously you're gonna hit a pretty hard wall. Most products that are aimed at beginners, you're going to hit a pretty hard wall, and I think that's where Leadworks 5 fits into the world. That's where I fit into the whole video game ecosystem, is the beginner engine that can make AAA results. Easy enough for beginners, powerful enough for experts.
Right, and Level 4 didn't have the ladder, in my opinion. Like once people wanted to do like larger games and with getting more things on screen, the 4 couldn't really do that very
Well,
well.
I mean, the way it was designed, you would basically get a linear slowdown, like most game engines are designed that way. Um,
Right.
Leadworks 5, you definitely don't have that problem. So, okay. So based on that, I think that we've kind of been, Lua has kind of been a second class citizen for this whole development process, and I actually think, but that's not the way it should be, because in Leadworks 4, like 90% of people were using Lua. Um, so I think Lua is very important, and I think the built-in IDE, the code editor we have, the integrated code editor, is very important. We didn't have that 4 weeks ago. That's new. Um, but the importance of that is extremely high. That's why I'm putting a lot of effort into that. I don't want to outsource the user experience to Visual Studio Code. I'm not removing support for that, but I don't want that to be.
Uh, but the big part is that Visual Studio Code help a lot because it analyzes your code and try to complete it, what you have done before in the project tree.
Yes, but that's like a power user thing. The first time user, I don't think it's gonna be interested in that, but someone like you will.
I've never even
And
seen
as long
that.
as yeah, as long as the engine supports Visual Studio Code, I think Josh is fine here.
Is that Copilot?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I get integrated with Copilot and all this like crazy stuff. So
hmm.
I understand Andy's point, but I think as long as the option for Visual Code still is there, I don't see a problem.
Yeah. So we talked about, I guess last week or 2 weeks ago, uh, a lot of people, like, if the whole install process for Visual Studio Code is not user friendly. It's not something that's congruent with the idea of the engine being aimed at beginners, like beginners especially. They really like to have everything you need in one place. And if I just imagine, like, what if I was teaching how to use Leadworks at some high school, and then I have to tell them, like, okay, well, you install my program, and then you have to go and find this other thing, and then you have to install this extension, but not that one. You have to install this other extension by this Chinese guy, and then you have to make sure that's the one that install. Oh, ignore that prompt. That's not, you don't need to install the thing it's asking you to install. And then the Visual Studio Code has like it has a billion features that I don't know what they are. Like when I look at the interface, there's so many things that I have no idea what they do, and there's just a lot of buttons I never push because I don't even. So, yeah, I mean the built-in IDE is a way more focused experience, and I think people value that a lot, especially beginners. Um, Anyways, the thing that people seem to prefer is video tutorials. I don't know why. Um, like
Probably because people now have poor reading comprehension skills.
I don't know, but like the first thing anybody like, it's like you know that meme where it's like there's the guy in the orange jacket and he's like pointing it's like yeah nah he's like pointing his finger and smiling like yeah, and then he's holding up his hand and looking away and like nah. I need to I want to make a meme of that and of like official documentation from the developer nah, and then like some random YouTube channel. Yeah, like people won't go to the official documentation. They go to YouTube and then they search, and then
right. Well,
so
that's the benefit of other engines. People YouTube their way out of every problem.
yeah. Well, we can't. Well, one, we can't do that because the content isn't there, and even if it was there, I think it's not gonna. They're not gonna ever find it. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to have very pushy, like some kind of display where the videos are listed right in the editor. It'll be visible by default. Like that'll be the first thing you see, and it'll have like a window that opens and it plays the video. I'm gonna make that extreme. Like you can turn it off, but I'm gonna make it like the default in behavior is gonna be very very. I don't know if intrusive is the right word, but that's the word that's the best way I can describe it. Like I just know like if I just put it on YouTube and I have a link to the official videos, I bet you like 75, 80, 90% of people won't ever look at them.
Well, I was gonna say you make the videos, you put it on your site, make it a link to the videos linked to your domain, but you also put it on YouTube because.
Well, I'll put it on YouTube still, but I think I'm going to include the MP4 video files in the software, like along with the software, and I'm going to have like a page where they like I don't know, just like wherever they start, it's gonna have a video that says this is how to do this. Here I'm going to teach you. So I have three games in mind. One is the marble game, one is the very simple first person shooter, and another is a very simple RPG game. And another thing is I suspect I think the YouTube algorithm favors videos that show human faces in them.
Well, and it's also like if they're 10 minutes long, how many advertisements they can cram in them, is there a sponsor in the video, et cetera, So
No. Blah, blah, blah. Like, from what I've seen, the difference, or either the algorithm or just human behavior, but we were talking about, Andy and Steven and I were talking about, we were looking at examples of, like, developer logs and stuff, and the difference between what is considered watchable is when they have their face in the video. If they don't have their face in the video, that's considered unwatchable. That seems to be that was the only pattern I could find.
No, there's another pattern. YouTube is not working like this. It's more that you need upload. I have a friend, he got something like 300,000 followers. You need to upload videos on a constant schedule. Otherwise, the algorithm is fucked for you. So
well, what's
you
a
need
constant
to
schedule?
Upload. Yeah, for example, every 3 days you need to make in an ordered schedule your videos.
Well, I probably do that pretty closely. I probably do about 2 videos a week. Usually, it's not perfect, but yeah,
And they should not be too long and not be too short. I think something like a sweet spot is 18 minutes around this.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think if I uploaded an 18-minute long video every 3 minutes, every 3 days, I don't every 3 minutes. I don't think it would have any effect at all. I don't believe that. The the critical difference I've seen, what makes a video watchable is having faces in it. And yeah, I think because that's what I see in all the popular ones. Like I don't. I think I'm gonna have to become like an e-celeb. I'm gonna have to become like that, which I don't want to, but if that's what it takes, I'll do it. I think I have to be like that guy with the what's his name, the Cherno or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
The
Mm.
things that guy says is are idiotic. Like he says some like I've heard him say some extremely dumb things.
He's
Um,
actually pretty smart, to be honest.
Heard him say some really dumb things that don't make any sense. Um, but he talks to the camera and people think he's their friend, and that's what YouTube is really. I think that's what it's really about. Is it's like this parasocial, like simulated friendship. I think I see how like kids today. I see how they're behaving, and I think it's like um, in their development, like YouTube is replacing uh, interaction with their peers to some extent, which means they are unable to distinguish between um, a YouTube personality and a person who they're friends with in real life. Like I mean, maybe not logically, but like emotionally, they believe that their favorite YouTuber is their friend, like subconsciously. Um, I think
The
that's
parasocial stuff.
I think that's what's going on, which is weird. Um, but yeah, I mean the closest thing that you could compare it to, you know, in like the '90s when I was in high school, it was like would be like movie stars and celebrity and like rock stars and stuff like that. But those are people that you would see like one interview with them, right? Or maybe they would be on the David Letterman show for like 10 minutes and they would say something funny and people would talk about that funny thing they said, but they weren't like constantly, you weren't getting a video directly to you every 3 days that was like an hour long of them talking about some, and they all talk about the same stupid shit, whatever, it's this constant like cycle of outrage or whatever that, they just need a constant stream of things to talk about. But you weren't getting that, and you didn't have any ability to interact with them in any way. Um, so it's just hard for me. Like I try to think about like, geez, like if that had been the case when I was in high school, like how would that have like changed my perception of things? Anyways, uh, yeah. So I think I'm gonna have to get a webcam, um, and like show like just show like a myself in the corner of the screen saying, "Hey guys, I'm gonna," because the whole thing should be like, "Hey, I'm gonna sit down with you, and I'm going to be your teacher."
Yeah, and you also then need to like make sure you have space and you have good lighting and
Oh,
you
I
know.
have wonderful
So
lighting, the best lighting. It's very beautiful.
okay.
Yeah, it's more effort for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why I never got too involved in that because it's a lot of fucking work.
but I suspect that is necessary because I mean YouTube has become so powerful, and it's if I don't do that, then I'm just relying on other people It's annoying that there are YouTubers out there who don't know anything, who have popular channels, and they put a lot of effort into it that I don't want to put, that I don't want to do. But
That's the key. They put effort into the videos talking about nonsense,
but
yeah.
they have an enormous, that's an enormous marketing tool that didn't exist. We didn't really have that like 5 years ago, not on the level it is now. Um, so unless I do that myself, then I'm sort of just dependent on them.
Correct.
So there's nothing stopping me from just taking the bull by the horns and
And
doing that
really
myself.
cool.
So
Yeah, and just being like, hey guys, I'm gonna teach you how to make an FPS game.
that's pretty much, yeah. I think the form. I mean, it's not a huge change in format. It's just, um, it's definitely more effort, but it's just like a fairly small change in format.
You could do a how-to video of very short contents to create emphasis on your engine in order to make different projects and how to make the different projects using your engine.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I think that's what's gonna have to happen. So I'm just like thinking like I'm thinking like that I have like I probably
I
have.
highly suggest copywriting your materials so it can't be copied by other creators,
Well, I think
so
everything's
that you
copyrighted
have
by
the
default.
folk. Uh, I'm just saying that it's emphasized within the video
Yeah.
that you are the sole source for any information on LeadWorks.
Well, I'm not, but I am the owner of those videos. Yeah. Um,
Well, you still could emphasize that so they only seek out your videos for the most accurate information of how your engine actually works.
oh,
But
I'm
why
not.
you want this?
What?
I mean, but why you don't want that, or why you want that only you deliver videos? It makes no sense. Because if there are other creators which adapt to these videos and make other their own stuff with Josh engines, or he makes gains even more.
Yeah.
The reason
Ideally we
I'm
want that to like branch out so that more people are. I don't want to be the only person making videos, but I think that's how it's got to start.
Well, you and your team, whoever you emphasize as the official creators, but this also makes it where those that is trying to knock your engine and trying to create videos to discourage people away from your engine can't be created because you own the entire source.
Okay, so we're talking about control of message, and yeah, again, this goes back to I don't if I just put it up on YouTube and people search for. I'm not counting on people even being able to find these videos on YouTube. Um, I'm actually that's why I'm saying like I'm probably like I want some kind of interface in the editor itself that shows them by default, almost like Clippy the paperclip. Hey, it looks like you're trying to start create a project. I know everybody here is gonna love it.
I was linking you something from Chromium like a month ago or two, where you can maybe create a Chromium widget with OpenGL to
Yeah,
render a web
that's
browser.
yeah, I know. I've done it. I've done it with the Steam. Steam has a wrapper for Chromium. They have an API that allows you to, and what it does is it's kind of surprising, but it generates a new texture, like a pixel data, every time something changes, and then you just send that to a texture. I believe that's how the web API that's how the web pages are displayed in LEDWorks 4, I think. Um, that's one option. I was looking at this last night. There's also Windows has Windows Media Foundation, something like that. I couldn't find any working examples of it, but they do have a tutorial broken up into a bunch of different parts that doesn't look. I mean, it'll probably take a full day to go through, but it doesn't look too terrible. FFmpeg will split the frames up, and then you can just stream them into a texture. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to do it, so I'm not too worried about that. Um, but I think like
Well, maybe. No, I was gonna say, well, there's been a lot of like requests to get video playback in the frame buffer, so maybe you can also add
yeah,
that
but
in the
those
engine.
requests are not. Look, there's a
But if
difference
you,
between some things that people really need right now and something that they just ask for because they're kind of bored. Every
also
single
if
time I've asked them, okay, do you have a video? Well, no, but I might need one someday.
yeah, but if you have a web browser, for example, you easily can play a video in this web browser.
Uh, maybe, but then you need it might need an online connection. Uh, there might be other issues. So I don't know. I'm not. And Chromium is complicated. It's extremely complicated. The Steam. That's why Steam made their own version of it in the Steamworks API. I forget what it's. I forget what the name of it is, but they just kind of simplified it. Um, so I don't care about the exact implementation of it. I don't want to think about that right now. What I'm more interested in is like the content and the how it's presented in the actual software, because I want it to be right in everyone's face, because I know like if I don't do that, then everybody's just going to go to YouTube and end up on the wrong video.
You could also create links within the documents you created to show the videos of how things function.
Yeah, they won't ever look at the documentation. Actually, I'm going to make an award. I think I'm going to make an achievement for clicking the help button or something, like opening the documentation and see what percentage of people actually do that. I bet you it's like 20%.
I mean, if you can use the Steam Web API thing, which you talk about, then you can make a small window popping up, for example, with the video direct into it. They can even play it in the player.
Well, that's what I'm going to do one way or another. There's like a few different ways to do that, but that's what I'm thinking. I'll go with whatever solution is the simplest. So whichever one I get working first is the one that I'll use, and then I'll worry about in-engine support for videos later. If it happens to be something that makes it easy to support, yeah, the thing with like adding it to the engine is now you have to worry about buffering and syncing that with sound. Whereas if I use it, if I get Windows Media Foundation working, then it'll probably be harder to set up, but it'll just work, hopefully. So I don't know. Like again, like I don't care about the implementation details. I care about like what the user sees. Um, so that's kind of what I'm thinking. LEDWorks 5, its a whole identity needs to be.
You need to circle back to where you were 10 years ago.
Not exactly, but like a better, like I was onto something with that. The Oh, another reason to do videos built into the application is it'll keep people in the app, which means their
Right.
playtime will increase, which is good which is something that makes the Steam algorithm happy. So that's actually like super. That's another reason the IDE is good. Um,
Right.
Well, if you start Visual Studio Code from your application house, then it counts as your application. To be honest,
not if
if I double click a Visual Studio Code file and it's opened, and if I close the engine and has Visual Studio Code open, it still shows that I'm in the game until I close Visual Studio Code.
Yeah, but people will sometimes they'll just work on their game just in code.
Uh,
I might also make like a standalone IDE and have that as a launch option later on. I'm not going to do it right now. But so you can select either the IDE or the full editor.
have you thought about a short commercial once the official release of LeadWorks 5 to bring in customers to your engine? Uh, like a very short video that could be those that's looking for engines, they can look at your engine and go, this is what I need.
No, I think paid advertising is a scam. I don't think it ever works online.
I'm just talking in general, those that's looking for an engine that best suits for their needs and how yours would be the perfect fit for them.
Sure, but I mean that's basically what the main Steam video is. But again, like if they never see it, then what good is it? That'll happen as a result because the Steam page needs a video when it starts. Like that needs a very good like overview video. Um, but I'm not counting on that to bring in customers. Like we know what works and we know what doesn't work. Advertising is all bullshit. Um, YouTubers they can bring in some traffic, but it's minuscule. Um, Even if they have huge numbers of followers, it's minuscule. The only thing that brings in sales is Steam, and that's purely a function. The conversion ratio stays pretty much the same no matter what you do. It's just how many times your page is shown. A certain percentage of people will buy it. Um, and so, and we know the Steam algorithm is based on your number of wish lists and your daily active users. So like your user retention.
But if you say it's based on the user activity, yes?
Yeah.
Would it make sense that you get rid of the standalone and get all the standalone users just a Steam key to get the Steam version?
Well, that's a tough call because you're giving up
I like
30% of your sales on every on every sale to Steam. So
Okay.
we also don't know if Steam keys count. I suspect they don't because that would be easy to hack.
I like my standalone edition.
Um, but uh, yeah, so is the daily activity of one user worth 30% of the purchase price? I don't know. I suspect probably not. And that would also be giving Steam an awful lot of power if they're the only marketplace. I actually plan to I'll probably put LedWorks 5 on the Epic Game Store at some point. Maybe
You could always set up a registry key so that only the official registry of the LeadWork 5 is the fully functioning LeadWork. Everything else would be a demo that's below that so that they could check and see if it's a good fit for them. But no actual key would work unless you authorize it.
like a demo.
Uh, you're going to need something to entice them to actually purchase the product so that they would have a demo, but the demo would not be able to have functions like save their project or control the type of things that they can do with that project
No,
so
we'll do
that
a
they
time
don't have a
limited. We'll
fully
do a time
functioning
limited.
project.
We'll do a time limited trial version. We'll have that at launch.
Just so that they can't create a fake key and go, oh, I have an official version. You would have a registry of exactly who's the registry according to who has purchased under your control.
I think the Steam functionality is good enough. Um,
Well, I'm talking outside of Steam environment where they could go directly to your site and purchase and try to use a fake key as if they've already purchased it prior.
no, I don't. I don't plan on doing a demo for. I don't think I'll do a standalone demo, just because it's not worth it. Because I mean, the vast majority of sales are coming through Steam, so it would just be a lot of trouble for something that's like a small percentage of sales.
Did you think about maybe also Humble Bundle in with your old engine, for example? Yeah, they have a
Uh,
lot. I linked a lot of this developer deals or something, game dev deals, and maybe you can make it in with your old engine into one of these packages. I think
yeah,
the sale is not that much, but you gain, you gain traffic to you.
they've asked me in the past, and the numbers they were telling me were pretty good. But you're also like, uh, I don't know. You're
I mean,
It's kind of a last resort.
if you pimp the UI for Letworks 4, like add a Discord button or something and say, here, Letworks 5 is now available or something, then yeah, you maybe get some customers from this way.
Well, I mean, the only thing that really matters, I mean, everything you guys are talking about, like the Steam algorithm is 1,000 times more powerful. So it's like, it doesn't matter. All that matters is the Steam algorithm. Okay, so based on this, I think we have a better good idea. I like to say no to things because every time I say no, that means I can say yes to something else. And it's really critical uh, to know like where you. There's 1,000 different ways you can waste time, and this is true in both developing an engine and developing. It's also true for your game. For your games, there's a million things you can do to waste time, and you have to know the difference between things that matter and things that do not matter, or else you'll never be able to you'll never succeed. Like every game that's successful, the developer makes hard decisions about what they're going to bother with and what they're not. I mean, there are so many flaws and shortcomings in Minecraft. There are so many flaws and shortcomings in SCP Containment Breach. There are so many flaws and shortcomings in uh, the original DayZ. And in all of those cases, the developer just focused on the things that they wanted the gameplay to be about, and they refused to get bogged down in other things that didn't really contribute to that main focus. And so based on what I've seen, I think the things that matter are basic game templates with a video going through it and explaining everything. It doesn't have to be AAA. um, I plan on like the Namagwaland scene that I was putting together. That got a very positive um, reaction from last week's video. People like that, and it looks good. And I plan on finishing that into a complete scene, and then uploading that and releasing it for free so you can download it. But it doesn't have to be a AAA game template. It's just a nice looking. It's just some nice looking. It's just a nice screenshot and a nice scene you can walk around in. Um, and that stuff is important because it's kind of aspirational. It tells you like it inspires people and gives them a reason to want to use the technology in the first place, a reason to want to learn. But as far as your templates and your game samples, the making a really high quality example game, well, if you do that, it's going to be more complicated, so it's harder to understand. But the increased demands of creating that are like tenfold, and the increase and the added utility of that is either slightly positive or even negative. Because if you're making something more advanced, it's going to be more complicated. It's going to be harder to understand. So it might actually even be worse from the end user's perspective, like in their learning process. Baked global illumination seems to be the way to go. Ray tracing seems to be something that kind of cool, but overwhelmingly, like the feedback I'm seeing is people would rather have something that looks exactly the same and runs fast. So I do think that the light mapping feature that I talked about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I think it was last week. Um, I think that's important, and I'm going to implement it in a way that it is sort of real time, sort of. Like maybe it can dynamically update in a few seconds. Maybe not. I'm not going to worry, but I'm. It doesn't have to do that at launch. I'm just going to implement it in a way so that if I choose to do that in the future, it'll be possible. But yeah, that's something that I'm going to say yes to. Ray tracing is something I'm going to say no to right now. The built-in IDE, that's something I'm going to say yes to. Visual Studio Code, I'm not saying no to it because it's already done, so there's no reason it's just going to sit there. But it's not something that I'm going to emphasize in the documentation. And then something that I'm not even going to attempt is like any kind of like visual programming, like making Scratch. Like, hey, I'm not going to tell people you can make games without code. The furthest I'll go with that is I do want to add variables. Like after 5.0 drops, I do want to add variables to the function calls in the visual flow graph but that's about as far as I would take it. And the problem with visual programming is you can only like your visual nodes can only they can only be representative of a huge amount of underlying code because as soon as if you take anything like take the monster script component, try to turn that into visual programming, and you'll get this huge spaghetti graph. Visual programming does not really work, and I'm not going to. It's always a marketing gimmick that lets people down, and I'm not going to even go down that route and even to try to do it. Like, and I think Roblox proves that you don't have to. Like, you can make something that's code first and focused on beginners. So I think a better solution would be to investigate integration of a large language model with the IDE. I have an asterisk next to this because I don't really know if it's going to work or not. If you do it right now, it'll just spit out a lot of gibberish that doesn't compile. But if I feed it all the entire documentation along with all of the code for all of the built-in code components with Lua, it might be able to, in that case, it might be able to come up with intelligent responses that work most of the time. I don't know, so that's why I have an asterisk. I won't really know until I try that. So that's kind of my thoughts on like how I want to steer things for the final release. Next week, I'll continue bug fixes, continue refinement of the user experience. Some of the best results come about when I'm not adding features, I'm not fixing bugs, I'm just using the software and finding the things that can be improved. That's when I find a lot of good improvements, and I like being able to work on things at kind of a higher level because it connects more with the end user. Again, it's like if I could, I would just work on new features all the time for you guys, but it's going to be the 12-year-olds who pay for it. There's a lot of them, and if I give them what they want, then if I give them something that really helps them and teaches them, then I think that it will be successful. So it's kind of like, how kids buying hats in Fortnite are funding the development of Unreal Engine. It's not the people using the engine that are funding it. It's the kids buying hats in Fortnite, and so that's a kind of not exactly the same situation, but that's kind of an analogy. We need the 12-year-old beginners who want to learn to code their own games. Those people are going to pay for all the nice, cool features that you get to use. And I do want to get a start on the tutorials, start laying this out and figuring out exactly what these 3 game examples are going to look like. Um, so, any questions about any of that before we continue?
So,
Josh, have you thought about making a priority list, like A, B, C, D, E, and instead of saying no, you just put it on a different scale? That, of course, you would get to the priority A before you would be doing B or C or D priority, so that you always know the direction you want your project to go.
No, because I don't like planning ahead too much. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. I think Mike Tyson said that. Um, yeah, planning ahead is actually like the more I experience I have, the it's actually like it's bad. Like be reactive, don't be proactive. Because what happens is you make up stories in your mind and you create this complicated structure of beliefs. And then when reality doesn't match that structure, it's very hard to change. It's hard to recognize and to change it. And it makes you much less. It really locks you in and makes you less agile. So I prefer to just say yes, no, and then if when the situation inevitably when the situation does change in the future, then um, then I'll just change. A no will become a yes, or a yes will become a no.
But you would have every idea wrote down and prioritized accordingly, and you would see what does work and what doesn't work according to the priority of your project.
Uh, that sounds really complicated. Yeah,
I know
it's
I'm
just
trying to keep it
I know.
simple, but I'm just making it where you have a visual copy of what the ideas and what did work and what didn't work when the official release, and you would have a master copy of the direction you took your project.
No, again, like it's kind of like yeah, I'm sure the developer of Minecraft had so many other features that he could have and wanted to implement. I bet you there was somebody at the same time. I bet you. What was the guy's name? Not. What's his real name? He calls himself Notch, I
not,
think. That's not
yeah.
his name though. Marcus. Is it Marcus Person? Or is that somebody else? I think his name is Marcus, but um, yeah. So I bet you there was somebody who was working on the same exact thing as him at the same exact time, and he made a
Well, Marcus
list. And he made a
Pearson
list
was
of
the
all the
name.
features he wanted, and he prioritized them all neatly. And he had a big plan. And the guy who made Minecraft first, he didn't do any of that. He just said yes, no, and he got through the work faster. And he got $1 billion, and the other guy got nothing.
I mean, that's
You
like a
have to be
shooting.
so. You have to be so brutal and fierce with the boundaries of your scope. And every time I do that, then I end up digging into the core essentials like way deeper than before and getting way better results. Um, so you have to say no very harshly to like when that you see a little when you see scope creep. And we have an engine where graphically I feel the only thing it's really missing is the indirect global illumination light maps, and we'll get those in 5.1, I think. Um, but we now have the opportunity. We have 98% of the bugs are resolved, which is fantastic, and I'm wrangling the drivers, working with NVIDIA and AMD to both get their drivers in tip top shape. But we now actually have something that delivers. We now have a triple A game engine that's easy to use, and I just have to uh, I just have to go through and create the content showing how easy it is and explain it to people and educate them. And that, I think, is the winning move. So just for my own like sanity, I need to limit the amount of things that I am thinking about because I've got enough. Because every time, if I can just, maybe it'll change later, but if I can just say no right now, then my thoughts will be on the important core content, which is what I need to be thinking about is how can I make something where people understand how to make an RPG. Because if I can do that, I think I win, and we all win. Because again, those 10-year-olds or 12-year-olds or 15-year-olds, they're going to be the ones who pay for it all.
I'm just trying to pass out different ideas, maybe things that's been overlooked.
I appreciate it. That's why we have these discussions, and they're always a lot of fun.
So you mentioned that you don't want your demos to be AAA, but how do you feel about the first-person demo we shipped in 9.8? Do you think that added value to your engine, or do you think that was just a huge waste of time?
I think it's great for what it is. I just overwhelmingly the response I've gotten is people are like, okay, now how do I make a game?
Right, I think it was like more showing the capabilities of the engine more than
Yeah.
showing people how to make the game,
Yeah,
which is good. I mean, but like I think when like Games from Scratch makes a video or something, he's probably gonna pull that demo up just to show like, oh, look how pretty everything is, and you can paint and you can do all this stuff.
yeah. It's a showcase. So that's more like aspirational. That's more of a selling tool.
Right.
But again, like the
Was
core.
there ever like a video where I must have missed it if you did, but was there a video where you guys like showed how the whole thing worked, like where you walked through like what you did with the components and the flow graph and stuff?
We explained a lot of the code, and we explained a lot of the art aspect of it, but it wasn't like going through like, hey kids, I'm going to teach you line by line how things work. And in fact, it would be very difficult to do it with that. So the games that
Yeah.
I'm talking about are I'm not seeking to make the best game. I'm just seeking to make something that is easy to understand so that I actually can walk through it line by line. And so it's going to be like, I mean, it's going to be sort of like crippled in that sense. Like, it's designed more to be easy to understand than to be good. It's not supposed to be a good game or a finished game or a complete game. It's just supposed to be a tool for me to show people how to do things.
All right. What about
Yeah, because I think that's what people really need is to just go like, oh, that's how I make the player move around or turn on a sequence when I push a button or whatever.
Yeah, if I can communicate those like basic concepts, then if they learn that, then they should be able to reapply that and do other things.
So you said you want to make an RPG, Marvel game, and an FPS game, but what about something with VR?
I don't think it's really that big of a priority.
Okay.
Not for
VR
the
is actually a pretty small market right now. I feel like that would be like the last tutorial you do almost right now.
well, from what I've seen, like hyper focusing on a small market doesn't seem to have any. It doesn't seem to get you any additional recognition.
Yeah.
Well, I was just saying like just make a VR template and just demonstrate teleporting and just grabbing things because I was experimenting with that this weekend and I was having a lot of problems and I posted on the forum and no one like bothered to help. So
Because nobody's using VR.
yeah, well,
I can't help you. I have no VR headset.
You have no VR headset?
Yeah, I don't have.
It's Andy's fault.
yeah, it's all Andy's fault.
He didn't buy a VR headset. Yeah, again, like it's just like there are no VR developer channels that I can find. There's nothing like that. It doesn't like the idea of like hyper focusing on a smaller market. That's appealing if it works, but I don't really see that. I mean that's what all my business books say to do, but I don't really see any effect of that happening. That doesn't seem to match up with reality. So the whole so the whole VR thing that doesn't seem to really be panning out. Like focusing on that for the engine. I mean, this is something I would like to do, but I would rather have an RPG example because that'll appeal to like way more people, like 20, 50, 100 times more people. And if there is a way to specifically reach VR developers, I don't see it.
VR seems to be a niche market anyway, very precise. What you're creating with the engine is a vast more open market with all the different devices that can operate under your engine.
Well, a niche market is exactly what you're supposed to pursue, according to like most the books that I've read about the technology adoption life cycle. You're supposed to pursue a niche market and become popular in that before you move on to a wider market. And that's kind of what I was trying to do, but that doesn't seem to. I get like the response from. Okay, this gets into a bigger. There's a bigger.
Should be used for a wider market, and every individual making their individual game would be for the niche market that engine was created to be used to create that niche that the users are using your project for.
I wanted to talk about something today, but I wasn't. I sort of like started laying out the ideas, but I wasn't really. Uh, it didn't make it into the slideshow because I hadn't quite formulated the ideas. But it's this idea. So, NVIDIA's cards they're claiming that the 5070 is as performant as the 4090,
And that's false.
which
It's
they
all
used
AI.
to actually that used to happen. Apparently, like the 70 series card of the new generation used to be comparable to the 80 series card of the last generation, something like that, I think. According to, I don't know, I didn't actually check the numbers myself, but that's what somebody on YouTube was saying. And and they're saying shit like, oh, we got a 50 times increase in frame rates. They're actually like, I think they're actually saying stuff like that. And this would be impossible without AI. Okay, so they're the the 5000 series cards are actually like I think it's something like a 15 or 20%, maybe. I don't know. It's a fairly small percentage increase in performance, but they're charging real money. So they're charging real money for fake frames. And it's this. So what we're seeing in GPUs is it can be referred to. It's been referred to in other markets as enshittification. We're seeing enshittification in GPUs, and we're also seeing it in game engines. And so these features that are being introduced are not designed to make the game better. They're designed to make the game require expensive hardware. They're creating features that are designed to make games slow. And there's a huge I'm starting as a game developer, with my own title under the in development with Leadworks 5. I'm starting to see this huge gap between what developers want and what players want. And would you guys say that that's accurate? Are you like?
Yes.
It seems like the developers aren't really listening to their customers.
No.
Because the market has
Yeah.
become so vast in the release of so many types of games that the market is getting smaller according to the type of game. So the developers is trying to push of the mass game market onto those trying to create mass sales.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So it's we're seeing. So I guess what does this go back to? Um,
I don't know.
okay, so
Saturation
going
of the
back to
market.
VR, going back to VR. The players themselves would like to they would like to have faster frame rates for VR. The
Right.
developers don't seem to care.
I care.
And
I would like
it
to
means the
point
world
out
to me.
that I would like to point out that FrameGen actually won't work for VR because it introduces like a massive amount of input lag.
Oh, that's a good
So it
point.
wouldn't be able to keep up with the headset or anything.
Yeah.
Which is why I thought your engine would have been like the silver bullet to that issue. But
It
yeah, I
doesn't seem
think
like
like a
developers
brilliant
care.
chat. Huh?
It doesn't seem like developers care. So it doesn't seem like
Yeah.
there's any way to reach VR developers because they just don't give a shit.
I think
Yeah.
that will be good on the headset, because in the case we need to store at least one generator or at least one frame on the headset for better user experience. It is possible, but only on the side of headset, not on the GPU.
Yeah.
Developers only care about mass market sales. They don't care about the specifics.
Well, they don't even seem to be. A lot of them aren't. Most of them aren't even very good at that. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I started making my own game. Working with Stephen and Andy, we've been working on SCP Redacted. If you go to ledworks.com/SCP, you can see a little bit of information on our game there. It's kind of been development on that has kind of been paused lately because I've been finishing Ledworks 5 up. But we do plan on releasing a video developer journal kind of thing, and just talking about some of the research the other guys have done on like what videos, what format works and stuff. That's kind of got me thinking. That got me thinking more about YouTube and how to leverage that as a marketing platform. But one of the one thing that has motivated me is like, okay, well, if you don't want to use Ledworks 5 and have faster performance, then I will, and I'm going to eat your lunch. Yeah, I mean, at some point, it's a little bit frustrating, like trying to coax other people into using my technology to make their game when I can just. It's at some point it's easier just to make a game myself, and that's probably like the best marketing tool possible, actually. And it certainly allows me to. I find just using my own software is the best way to find ways to improve it. We've had a lot of improvements to the software have come about because of that. So one last note on regarding frame upscaling generation. I am pro upscaling in some cases. I think it should be the absolute last thing that you do. Like you should try everything else before you do upscaling. But I do think that it's a valid technique, more so than frame generation because it doesn't involve input latency. But and I think the best.
I just don't like when it relies on accumulation, because to me that creates a really bad smear effect. That I like the really clean, crisp look of your engine. I would really hate like if we started relying on accumulation effects and stuff like Unity and Unreal.
Okay, so a couple of things here. First of all, I have no idea why everybody insists that deferred renderers don't support MSAA, because they do. Leadworks 4 was the first game engine to use MSAA, to use deferred rendering after Stalker X-Ray engine. Leadworks was the second commercial product in the world to use deferred rendering, and everybody at the time said that I was crazy. And it's had MSAA since the very beginning, or pretty close to it. And I have no idea why everybody insists that deferred renderers can't do MSAA, because they can. Anyways, so that's one reason that the MSAA support. That's one reason why the renderer looks so clean. And it's so MSAA is good because if you're doing super sample anti-aliasing, so if you do like 2 times super sample, that means you have 4 times the pixels to process, because you're rendering a image at twice the resolution, which is 4 times as many pixels. If you have MSAA, then your number only goes, that number only doubles. You're rendering twice as many pixels, because it has this sampling pattern that's like different for every pixel or something like that. And it works out so that it does a pretty good approximation of what super sampling would look like. That's with 2x. With 4x, the difference is even more extreme, because with super sampling, it would require 16 times as many pixels. With MSAA, it only requires 4 times as many pixels to be processed. So it goes up, with one it goes up linearly, with the other it goes up exponentially. So that's why Leadworks has such a clean image. Okay, so there's basically 3 ways to do upsampling. One is AI powered, and I suspect that DLSS is probably not really. I don't think it really is. I don't think.
Hello?
Did sound go out?
Ah, okay. Josh is
Oh,
silent.
okay, Josh. I don't know if Josh can hear. That was fun.
All right. Technical difficulties. My sound screwed up because I just plugged in my headset, but
I think we lost Josh.
yeah, I think his mic broke.
Maybe it just came unplugged.
What the heck? What the heck?
I hear you.
Okay.
No, oh, wait, now.
Ah, I did the old unplug the microphone and plug it back in trick.
Yeah.
Actually, oh my god.
Oh yeah.
This, you guys, this laptop has an NVIDIA card in it.
Yeah.
You know what just happened? I was talking shit about DLSS. The last thing. Okay, so I was saying that like I suspect that DLSS isn't really AI. I think it's just an algorithm, and they might have used like some data that came from a neural network, but it doesn't even make sense that they would, like, AI upsampling and AI in general is so slow. It doesn't make sense that would be taking like a millisecond to. I don't think it's actually AI at all. I think they just say that. Okay, so I was saying there's 3 ways to do upsampling. One is AI powered things, so that's DLSS, and then supposedly, and then AMD's FSR 4 is supposed to be this way. Again, I have my doubts. I suspect it's just a marketing gimmick, or like lie. But and it also, justifies, why you would have to have it in, why it would only be available in the latest series cards. So NVIDIA's turned into a software company, basically. They're selling incremental updates, and then they're packaging software with that they're charging money for, a lot of money for. Anyways, yeah, I think so there's the AI approach, the ostensibly AI approach, and then there's the temporal reprojection, the temporal anti-aliasing, which is what you're describing, which is where you get the smears. And then there's, aside from just conventional anti-aliasing, there's also a FSR1 is it just analyzes one frame, and I think what it does is it does it in two passes. It does one pass to like find edges, and then it does another pass to sort of enhance those edges. And it's probably not as good with a still image, but it's also not going to have any trailing artifacts like you're describing. Combined with MSAA, that might actually produce very good results, maybe. And also, like, when you're rendering at 4K, it doesn't take much to, like, 4K pixels are not as discernible as 1080p pixels. So if you just have a little bit of enhancement, I'm thinking, your ability to distinguish between those tiny little pixels is not the same as if it was on a 1080p resolution, which is why I think it's ridiculous. You're seeing like these videos on YouTube of these people who apparently are making money off of NVIDIA somehow, and they're saying like, oh yeah, DLSS 4, this is why it's superior, because here's this blown up image, and you're looking at the blown up image, and they're showing you like bilinear resampling and then FSR3 and DLSS 3 or 4, and the images all look exactly the same, and I'm like, he's saying like, clearly the image quality here is much superior, so you really have a compromised experience. It's bizarre. So FSR1, so FSR 2, 3 are the same thing basically. That's available right now. It's very difficult it's very complicated to integrate. You need like motion vectors and stuff. And I looked at the library, and like, I don't even know where to start compiling it, because you have to install, it's got a lot of dependencies for Vulkan and DirectX, and you have to install those SDKs and stuff. So it was the kind of thing where, yeah, if I spent a day on it, maybe I could figure it out, but I had better things to do, so it just didn't happen. But FSR1 is just a simple two shader pass, basically a two shader post-processing effect. So I might actually start with that and then just see what the results are. Combined with MSAA, it might produce pretty good results. That might be like the first step in that process, and that would not that would make older cards that were able to play at 4K resolution theoretically, and it would not involve any of the reprojection trailing artifacts that you're describing.
The problem with FSR1 is that it's not good. FSR1 was the first version, and it was pretty terrible.
Okay, but
so you should aim at least for FSR2.
Okay, well that won't happen. That'll probably take a month to do. FSR1, I think I can probably get it set up in a couple of hours.
Yeah, but it was not good. You gain maybe like 10 frames or something.
Well,
and it doesn't look that good. You can watch some old videos with SSR1. With FSR2, it's starting working. I think the current version is 4 something.
Well, would you rather have something that exists in reality, or would you rather have something that I'm not going to have time for at least another 3 months? I mean, the one that actually exists is the one that's in reality is the one that's better. I don't know. We'll just try it and see. There's a demo of. I did see a demo of it, and it isn't good at upsampling like small details because it doesn't have multiple frames to work with. But if it's combined with MSAA, I'm curious to see what the results are. And again, it's something that I can try, and I can probably set it up in a couple of hours versus FSR 2.3 where it's like just starting to compile that. That's going to be quite a task, and so it's going to always get put off. Um, so I'm curious to see what the results are. If it sucks, it sucks. Then it won't get released, but we can at least try it. Let's see. And also, I mean, you don't need FSR to do temporal anti-aliasing. It's all you're doing is you're rotating the camera a tiny bit each frame, and then blurring the results of the last 4 frames. So if you so like one frame you rotate the camera down and to the left like half a pixel, or I guess it would be 1.5. Let me think. It would be half a pixel. You'd want to go down and to the left so that everything showed up half a pixel, shifted over and up, and then the same thing for all the corners of like the pixel. And then you would just combine the results, and that's temporal anti-aliasing. Don't actually need any name brand or anything. I mean, that's what they're doing. So it's actually kind of a toss-up between like, well, how difficult is it to implement this, bloated library that has a bunch of stuff for DirectX 12 that I have to download a bunch of SDKs and stuff, or how difficult would it be to just try it out myself and write my own implementation? I don't know, but it's like, it's just that's never the thing that I can do that provides the greatest benefit in the least amount of time. I mean, the other stuff that I did last week was way more beneficial, I feel. Solving 15 bugs, I feel that was more important than twiddling around with some upscaling technology and enhancements to the, adding the full syntax highlighting to Lua. I think that was way more important. Making this improvement to the emit sound and fixing the FPS example map, I feel those were the things that took priority. So it's weird that everybody's like, that's the thing that everybody's talking about on YouTube, at least, is like upsampling, and it's so boring. It's like, hey, here's a way to make an image that's kind of good. It's such a, I mean, I think people are just bored and they have nothing else to talk about.
Well, that's just because everyone's using Unity and Unreal, and you can't get performance out of them.
Well, we do. To be fair, we don't hit the performance bottlenecks that they do on. Yeah, we totally sidestep all their bottlenecks that they have on with most things. But when you're going to 4K rendering, that's when all engines are going to hit some pretty harsh bottlenecks. So the upscaling is actually something that would benefit our engine as well when you're rendering at high resolutions on an older card. There's something else. I wasn't going to talk about this because I'm not sure about it yet, and I don't like to expose you guys to all the like day-to-day thrashing about that happens. I don't really bring things to you guys until we're pretty far, until I'm pretty sure that they're going to work. But we might move okay, so we have a map in the SCP game that's using a lot of decals, and you have a lot of decals in the foreground. And I believe in that situation, I think if I move the lighting into a deferred step, same code, same renderer, just move it into a deferred step, which would probably take me like a few days. I think that might be faster. I think the approach we're using is clustered forward, which is the same that id Software uses. So all the newer Doom games use it, and I think Call of Duty, like some of the newer Call of Duty games use it. I think from what I'm seeing, I think clustered forward plus is faster when you have lower vertex counts and when you have when you're not using a lot of post-processing effects, and when you have like if you just have like an outdoor scene with a fairly low vertex count and no post-processing effects, then clustered forward will be faster than deferred. But and its primary advantage is that it doesn't require the big G buffers that deferred rendering uses. But as soon as if you add SSAO, if you turn SSAO on, then you need most of those G. You need a pretty big G buffer for that. You have to store the normals in that. If you have multi-sample anti-aliasing turned on, then you're gonna need an extra color buffer for that. So in those situations, it kind of loses that advantage, and then it's more computationally expensive in the shader itself, which is why it requires a forward Z pass. So that means you're rendering all your vertices twice. So in the situations where you have a lot of vertices or a lot of small lights or a lot of small decals, or a lot of tessellation, I think that's in those situations, I think rendering your lights as a deferred step could be faster. I believe it would be in the situation that I'm seeing. So again, that's not going to happen in the next beta, but I'm going to investigate that before the final 5.0 release. And if I need to, then I'm going to switch the order of lighting around. It doesn't require a whole new render. It'll just work with the same code. But that's something that I want to investigate it and see what the results are. I can't say for sure yet, but I suspect that when a lot of lights are used or with very high poly counts, I suspect the deferred approach might be faster, especially with when you're rendering to a 4K screen. So, but it might not be. I don't know. It's hard to say. Anyways. That's about all I've got to talk about today. That was quite a lot. Let me take a deep breath. Before we go, I would like to thank everybody who's given us a thumbs up on Steam recently. And this includes T-Tiki, Drogowit, The Cuzzy, Capcrunch, Metal OS, Agnologia, Knievels, Ricochet, Andy, Gashish, Master Marcy, 3D Gamer, Saru71, Mazel, Timmy, You, Plisa, Gravitate Games, Lilybite, Wreckage, Technofox, Casmic, Doctor Who, 3DGX, JD Gaming, Breep Blue, Anthony Python, CZX188, Riedel and Trig, Merrick, IJC, Kent, Old Amsterdam, right? Drake Black, Merrick, Project A, him, Pedrito, James W. Harden, Troyinator, Altitude, Lucky Luke, Slick29, Gavaris 3, Waxy Renaha, Coneo Tuerto, and Jessica 07.
Woohoo!
That's gonna be even like when I start showing my face on webcam. That's gonna be even more hilarious.
Actually, seeing your face turn blue.
Yeah. And the facial expressions that go along with that. It's a good thing that I'm very handsome.
Yeah. Are you wearing sunglasses and cowboy hat?
Why is that a thing?
I remember your old avatar used to be you.
Maybe I will. Maybe that'll be my thing.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, I have some. I actually have some sun. I have some like, I could get some of those gamer like glasses, that they have. Or I have some like city sunglasses I never wear. They're like avatars with like light blue lenses. I bought them on a whim, but they look kind of cool, but they're kind of useless. And then maybe like some gold chains and.
Yeah, it might be hard to code with sunglasses.
Maybe I need to get a perm in order to appeal to the sensibilities of the younger and wiser generation. Their tastes and preferences.
Make sure you put a Subway Surfer in the corner so they can pay attention.
A what?
gameplay of Subway Surfer.
Like a Ninja Turtle?
No, Subway Surfer.
What is that?
It's like where you see the little video of the
It's a
guy
mobile
running on
game.
trains.
Do they do that?
Yes.
Yeah, they show you 2 videos at once now on TikTok and stuff.
Just so you
Have a
don't get
person
bored?
Talking and someone, yeah.
The kids pay attention.
They call them Subway Surfers.
We're all screwed.
This is how it ends. All right. Yeah, that was quite a lot. Do we have anything else before I end the video?
Nope.
Yeah, check out the survival props pack in the downloads, available right in the engine, right in the editor. If you have the if you're on the beta, you can download it right into your project. Very fun, very cool. Okay,